Hello everyone, we have ourselves our first tornado risk, first legitimate tornado risk of the year. We already have, where is it, storm reports? We already have reports of a tornado that's occurred in central Oklahoma. That seems to be just south of Oklahoma City. And the tornado risk is going to continue as it works its way east. And then tomorrow we'll have a risk down here. So, going into our specifics, here's the official SPC outlook. 5% risk in Oklahoma. That was added this morning, probably due to those storms already starting to rotate. Those storms might weaken a little bit as they work their way to the east. Potential for new storm development is also there. Storms could have strong winds, and hail probably not a big issue outside of Oklahoma. Tomorrow we have another tornado risk a little bit further to the southeast. That includes Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, which is your usual trio for tornado setups in earlier in the year. So 15% risk for wind, so strong winds possible with these storms, and then hail possible early in these storms. Life cycles. Storms are going to move off to the east and weaken by Saturday, and beyond that, there doesn't seem to be much to note. So let's go into our forecast. So currently, this is about what it looks like. We have a small negatively tilted trough. I say small because I feel like this trough and this trough are kind of separate. So negative tilt, close low, 500 millibars with a notable short wave on it. And what that does is that works its way quickly off to the northeast, leaving behind just a broad area of flow in the upper levels that's fairly strong. For tomorrow's setup, we can see a little bit weaker winds aloft. So overall, we could see some issues potentially with instability. You're not getting these troughs that sweep across all of the arid areas of the country. You get a little bit of it, but nothing too crazy. And then for tomorrow's risk, it's hard to get that elevated mix layer out here into the southeast. So, and that's kind of the same here. We get those 500 millibar winds blowing in kind of from Gulf, a little bit from Texas. So overall, instability could be somewhat limited with these setups, but we'll take another look at that in a second. So we'll take a look at our low-level jet now. And I have a feeling that, at least for today, that shouldn't be an issue. We can see we already have a strong 850 millibar low centered in Kansas with already 50s knot low-level jet. And that only strengthens with time. We get to 60 knots by noon today. And yeah, very impressive. Very impressive looking kinematics with this setup, at least for today. Although instability is going to be very much on the weak side. Tomorrow we get a little bit of a increase in the low level jet over the risk area, although it is not as strong as today. So kinematics are probably more favorable today, but given the fact that there might be actual instability tomorrow, that is probably why the Storm Prediction Center has a higher risk out for tomorrow. For today's risk, we can also look at the location of the 850 millibar low in relation to the surface low. So right here in slightly eastern Iowa for our 850 millibar low, and our surface low is just about right on top of that. So I have a feeling that these thermodynamics are going to be quite favorable, or yeah, the kinematics are going to be quite favorable for tornadoes. I had to let in my dog. Uh, all right, so moving on from there, we'll go to our higher resolution model. And look at some more specifics. We'll also look at our um, uh, potential reflectivity, what we could see. So we have their storms already, pretty expansive storms in Oklahoma. And those kind of congeal into a little bit of a line, working their way across Missouri and northern Arkansas. So this could be the situation where you have uh, a few small tornadoes that occur. I doubt in at least northern areas the risk. So in St. Louis, I highly doubt there's going to be any strong tornadoes up here, given how weak the instability is. Very strong shear though. And we can see just this storm kind of just extends as a line and it just continues down. This is into the night. Nothing too crazy, so doesn't seem, at least from what I'm seeing right now, there will be an extreme tornado risk. Here's what it's looked like in far southern Missouri. So we do get a little bit more instability here. Lapse rates 5.5 at the 0 to 3 kilometer layer. That is on the lower end. Total totals 50. So overall instability is weak, but it's still kind of there. Photographs here look quite favorable for tornadoes. Uh, if you want to be nitpicky, you'd say you'd want these winds to be a little bit stronger in the mid to upper levels in correlation to these strong winds at the low levels. So you don't see winds really increase after 1 kilometer, which is that's just nitpicky, but it does show that the photograph isn't perfect, although it is very good. Further south in Arkansas, this would be 7 o'clock. Instability is a little weaker here. We do see some sort of dry air working its way in. And photographs with, okay, this will be interesting to note. We were looking at our low-level jet, which is strong here. However, mid-level and even upper-level winds aren't that much stronger. So that isn't, usually you want to see, like we see here, strong increase in winds from 0 to 1 kilometer, but you do want to see at least a steady, slow increase in wind speed from 1 kilometer to 6 kilometer, but the winds from 1 to 6 kilometers are all kind of in that 55 knot range. So overall, today doesn't look like a very high tornado risk, although I wouldn't be surprised to see a few more tornadoes, just not very strong ones. We'll go to tomorrow, see if anything happens there. This is early morning stuff, 3 a.m. We can just check this real quick. Okay, so instability looks a little better here. Still a little weak on the lapse rate side. Low level shear is a bit weaker down here. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see maybe a tornado warning or two in Mississippi early morning. before the sun comes up. Now, here's what we're seeing for tomorrow, and we see just scattered storms in the morning, and that eventually develops into just a whole bunch of storms, really. And nothing too robust stands out here. See if there's a surface low. But yeah, I mean, today and tomorrow don't seem like super high tornado risks from what I'm seeing at the moment. So here's our dew points. This is measurement of moisture. Alright, let's take our sounding from out here. Okay, this is not that impressive. And still weak on that instability with, I mean, it's a bit better than it was in Missouri and Arkansas today, but really just not very favorable for a big tornado outbreak. One thing that we do kind of see that we don't see otherwise is an increase in winds from 1 to 6 kilometers. So that, and the winds don't veer a lot in that area. So in that regard, it is a little bit more favorable there, but low level shear is a lot weaker. Later at night, we'll see if anything changes. Not really. So I don't really think that there's going to be, there's probably going to be a few tornadoes here and there, but I don't think that there's going to be a big tornado outbreak today or tomorrow. I mean, we already had some tornado warning stuff going on in Oklahoma. Might as well check that out, see what it looks like there. And yeah, we see kind of moist, saturated air, but with a little bit of a dry pocket there. And then winds that increase without veering much from 1 to 6 kilometers. Yeah, this is just low end tornado setup. I don't expect too much crazy to happen at the moment. Well, thank you for watching. See you in the next one.